I'm going to read from this book, A Prayer for Owen, Meany by John Irving. And when it was aired in the 28th Parliament in 1969 that U.S. deserters were being turned back at the border because they were persons who were likely to become public charges, I never actually said to any of my Canadian friends that I suspected these deserters were no more likely to become public charges than I was likely to become such a charge. By then, Canon Campbell, that had introduced me to old Teddy Bear Kilgore, who had hired me to teach at Bishop Strachan. We wheelwrights have always benefited from our connections. Owen Meany didn't have any connections. It was never easy for him to fit in. I think I know what he would have said to that bullshit that was printed in the Toronto Daily Star. At that time, I thought that bullshit was so right on target that I cut it out of the newspaper and taped it to my refrigerator door, December 17th, 1970. It was in response to the Amex published statement of the first 5 priorities for American expatriates. The 5th being to try to fit in to Canadian life. To quote the Toronto Daily Star, unless the young Americans for whom AMEX speaks revise their priorities and put number 5 first, they risk arousing a growing hostility and suspicion among Canadians. I never doubted that was true, but I know what Owen Meany would have said. That sounds like something an American would say. Owen Meany would have said that. The first priority in every young American's life is to try to fit into American life. Doesn't the stupid Toronto Daily Star know these young Americans in Canada are there because they left their country because they couldn't fit in? Their first priority is supposed to be to fit in here? Boy, that makes a lot of sense. That's really brilliant. That's worth one of those stupid journalism awards. But I didn't complain. I didn't bitch about anything, not then. I thought I'd heard Hester bitch enough for a lifetime. Remember the War Measures Act? I didn't say a word. I agreed with everything. So what if their civil liberties were suspended for 6 months? So what that they could be searched without a warrant? So what if people could be detained without counsel for up to 90 days? All the action was happening in Montreal. If Hester had been in Toronto then, not even Hester would have been arrested. So I just kept quiet. I was cultivating my Canadian friendships, and most of my friends thought that Trudeau could do no wrong, that he was a prince. I like this book because I did live through those days when young men did go to Canada to avoid fighting in a war that they disagreed with. Most of them, as it says here, were young men that could not fit into American life because American life meant you had to go to war. It was not an option. You didn't get to enlist. You were drafted. This particular book always spoke to me because the title, A Prayer for Owen Meany, refers to the idea that the young man, Owen Meany, tried to avoid a prophecy or a dream about his life that came to a bad ending by going to great lengths, and yet, in a strange quirk at the end of the story, the path that he takes still ends up at that ending that he was trying to avoid. And I guess a lot of us try to do that, and in his case, he actually was gone to the length of being an expatriate, despite the fact that probably, although he didn't fit into American life, he was an American.